Hey, honey.
Hey, nerd!
So what are we doing today?
Today, I'm making my fiance Patrick. I'm making him walk to 5 little libraries with me, and I'm going to make myself read books that I find in those libraries. So here are the books that I'm leaving behind. We got extra copies of The Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages, Guitar for Dummies. I don't know why I have this. This is from like high school. And then a couple of sci-fi compilations as well that I'm just never gonna read. The rules are, at every one I have to leave a book, and I have to take a book, and then I have to read that book. Most books at little libraries suck because people give away the stuff they don't want, so we'll see what there is.
Oh, what's your strategy?
My strategy is, thank you for asking that question unprompted. Books that I've heard of that are good, authors that I've heard of, small books that I can get through fast. That's the strategy. By the way, this is the fiance. He's so cool. Look at that.
Ready to go walking?
Yeah, let's do
do it.
I'm ready for books.
I might go too fast. I don't care about those limits, 'cause I want this to last like nothing ever lasts before. I might go too fast. Suddenly I feel so rich, though I don't know nothing. Oh, I can't let this slip, no. I gotta seize the moment. Have you even noticed? Are you thinking about me? Are you thinking about me? I'm having a hard time not doing anything other than thinking about you. So are you thinking about me? 'Cause I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. Don't wanna go fast, 'cause I know that people get scared sometimes. Hope it's not this time, 'cause I might go too fast. Suddenly I feel so rich, though I don't know nothing. Oh, I can't let this slip, no. I gotta seize the moment. Have you even noticed? Are you thinking about me? Are you thinking about me? I'm having a hard time not doing anything other than thinking about you. So
It's like over 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's pretty warm today.
Yeah. Well, this was poorly planned. See you at home. Bye. Hi, Harvey. Good boy. You admiring your handiwork? You little demon. Okay, so we're back. I'm less dehydrated than I was before, which is great. So here are the books that I got to recap. The Octopus and the Orangutan, More True Tales of Animal Intrigue, Intelligence, and Ingenuity by Eugene Linden. Gentlemen of the Road by Michael Chabon. The Nature Fix by Florence Williams. A Little Snoopy Collection. And Immortal Milk Adventures in Cheese by Eric LeMay, I'm gonna guess. I think out of all of these, like, I have to be most excited for the cheese book. You know, that looks delightful. Okay, so the next time you'll hear from me, I will be reading one of these books. See you then. Okay, so let's discuss The Octopus and the Orangutan by Eugene Linden. So this ended up being a bit of an experience. Let's start with the positives. This is a very fun book that has cute stories about animals. And that's great. Hey, editing Emmy here, and I realized that I never actually said what this book was about, which seems like an oversight. Here with Harvey, he's being all cute and stuff. Okay, anyways. So The Octopus and the Orangutan is a book that explores animal intelligence and how animals are supposedly a lot smarter than we typically give them credit for in the scientific community. And it explores a lot about how difficult that is to research, about how a lot of studies are not necessarily recognized because of sample size, etc. So at its core, this is presented as a scientific book, but it really doesn't have all that much cold hard science to back it up, which does kind of bother me. Yeah, this book is Eugene Linden talking about stories that he has heard about animals that are smarter than one might assume they would be. That's the book. All right, back to the review. The inside cover talks a lot about how many different animal species there are that show different forms of intelligence, and it's true, he does touch on quite a few different types of animals, from crows to tigers to a bit of dogs and cats. But ultimately, he does really end up focusing on the two animals that are in the title, the octopus and the orangutan, which is fine. I also did really enjoy the discussions of zoos and the ethics of zoos, the ethics of conservation in general. I really liked this quote. "Zoos serve a vital purpose, but they are not ideal. Their importance has risen in direct proportion to humanity's destruction of wildlife and habitat around the world." Gail Lowell, a gifted animal trainer, put it best, quote, "Those of us who deal with animals in captivity should do so with a guilty conscience," end quote. Really like that general discussion about zoos. Now for the negatives. I think I will go in order of descending from least his fault to most his fault with the things that I did not like about this book. First thing I didn't like, it was published in 2002 and the information in here is just very out of date. I think if you were really interested in intelligence in animals, I say this without researching it, but there's absolutely a more recent book that you could pick up that would teach you much more than this would. There's a story in here about a whale named Kiko, and he spent a lot of time talking about how the scientists that were working with Kiko were trying to reintroduce that whale to the wild. Upon looking it up, I found out that Kiko died in the wild about a year after this book was released, so information not current. Anyway, not Eugene's fault, but it is very out of date. Second thing that I had a problem with in this book is that it is extremely anecdotal. I enjoy hearing cute stories about animals. However, this is billed really as like a scientific book, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem with an author not citing their sources. There is no bibliography, there is no works cited page in this at all, and I, for one, am very hesitant to just take an example of something that he heard from a friend of a friend and say like, ah yes, a cited source. Zero citations in this book. There could have been a works cited page. He put a fucking index in the back. A bibliography could have existed. I mean, even if it's of, I made a tape of my friend telling me this story, like it's still better than nothing. And I think that you especially need to cite your sources if you're talking about stuff that is controversial. For example, in this book, he talks about animal telepathy. What? There are many who believe that animals have other non-linguistic ways of getting a message across. Cat people, those fascinated by felines big and small, in particular advance the notion that the animals are able to communicate by planting images or ideas in a person's head. I get approached regularly with stories of animal telepathy. Bro. No. Cats can put pictures in our brain. No. Don't put that in a scientific book. Don't pretend like that is more credible than it actually is. And the third problem that I have with this book is how this dude talks about the country of Uganda. It's not good. In this blood-drenched corner of Uganda, it is metaphorically apt to imagine that chimps might have picked up the use of weapons from observation. There have been plenty of human examples to imitate. Apart from homicidal gangs, the region also contains some of the world's most famous primate research stations. Much of Africa, including Uganda, has managed the trick of having growth without development. What Uganda has proven best at is producing more Ugandans. Otherwise, there is little or nothing that Uganda produces that, at the moment, cannot be produced better or cheaper elsewhere. What the fuck did I just read? Bro, I understand that you don't like Uganda, but I don't think that has any place in your book about whether animals are smart or not. Honestly, really just misplaced. Like, why was that in there? There's no reason for that. Not to give any slack where slack is not deserved, but this was in the chapter about animals using weapons, so I think he was trying for some sort of a juxtaposition between the two species of chimps and humans. Nope, bad choice. Also, to add to the injustice of me having to read that passage, I showed it to Patrick, and he made me watch several scenes from Who Killed Captain Alex.
Then who killed Captain Alex? Who?
And that is something that I will truly never forgive Eugene for. Anyways, I've talked long enough about this book. Definitely not my favorite. I think if I had read it when it was published and there was no discussion of Uganda in that book, I still would have rated it like 2.5 stars. The writing is just really dry and the examples not scientifically backed up, so not for me. However, considering how it's dated, considering the discussions within the book, I'm going to give this a casual 1.5 stars. We're going to move on to this next, and hopefully this will be better. Alright, so I have finished book number 2, which is Gentlemen of the Road by Michael Chabon, and overall, it was fine. This book is about a pair of Jewish ne'er-do-wells set in the 10th century, and it's set around the Aral Sea, Caspian Sea area. Parts of Asia and parts of Europe are included in this book. It's historical fiction. For some reason, I thought it would be fantasy just based on the cover, and I was like, ooh, that's a cool concept for a fantasy novel, but it's not. It's just historical fiction, which is fine. We follow these two men, Zilikmen and Amram, as they attempt to restore a prince to his rightful place on the throne. We follow them through war, through battles, and it really is just like a swashbuckling story of adventure. I really liked the concept. I really liked the character work in general. I think what didn't gel for me super well was Michael Chabon's writing style, which I'm not saying it was bad, this is just personal preference. His writing is very beautiful, it's very stylistic, and you have to be very in the mood to just kind of sit back and watch the prose just kind of wash all over you. I think in terms of character work, this ended up working out really well for him. In terms of actually moving the plot along, unfortunately some of the major plot points would kind of get lost in this rush of beautiful imagery, and I would miss them and I would have to go back. So I was like, oh, they moved like 50 miles and I missed it because I was so engrossed in like the details about the elephant's skin or the flowers in the fields. So I'm more of a person who just likes action-packed stories, like snappy dialogue. I like the plot points to be very carefully laid out, and what I'm used to being emphasized and given more detail was not, and parts that I'm less used to being emphasized were. I think that it was just not personally my cup of tea, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It's a good book. If this sounds like something you would like, I definitely would recommend it. It's just for me personally, on my enjoyment scale, I'm going to give it a perfectly average and reasonable 3 stars. I don't know if I've talked yet about how I'm going to do the rating system. For me, 3 stars is pretty good. I think 3 stars should not be a bad rating. It should just be like, this was a good book. This was average. And that is what I'm going to give this. For me to give something 5 stars, that is going to have to be a book that I'm going to think about constantly and read over and over and over and over again, and that it will never leave my brain. I think this will leave my brain pretty fast, but it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. So with that being said, I will see you after I finish the next book. Hello. It's been a few days. Yeah, to be honest, I kind of lost steam with this a little bit. I was planning on reading all of the books within a week. At least I was going to try to do it, and then the first 2 especially just kind of numbed my soul a little bit, and so I needed to take a break. And so I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that helped a lot. But I have 2 more books to review for you really quickly. We got ourselves a little visitor. Ooh, there's the man. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm leaving on a trip tomorrow, and my adapter that has my SIM card in it is wherever the fuck. Oh, thank you. So I'm recording this on my phone. I apologize for the inevitable drop in video and audio quality. I assume that it will be back to normal in the next clip. So after Gentlemen of the Road, I read the Snoopy collection, and I think as with most comic book compilations, it was fine. Whatever. The only thing that really bothered me in this book is that I had forgotten the amount of times that Snoopy condescendingly calls Lucy sweetie. And I checked. This was written in the 70s. Like, maybe it's a different time or whatever. Like, in this comic, Lucy tries to give Snoopy advice on a speech that he's giving, and then he kisses her on the nose, which she clearly doesn't want, and he says,
I don't recall asking for any advice, sweetie.
It's like, damn, I don't remember that dog being so condescending. What the fuck? So overall, I sped through this. Was it a good experience? I guess. Was it a bad experience? Besides for the sweetie thing, no, not really. It's kind of average, so I'm gonna go, again, 3 stars. And then the book that kind of put a halt to the whole I'm gonna do this in a week thing was The Nature Fix by Florence Williams. And let me be clear, that is not because this book is bad, that is because this book is excellent. With the octopus and the orangutan, I really just wanted to speed through it. I was like, okay, whatever, like this guy didn't do his research, it's fine. This is meticulously well researched. It is impressive. This is what I expect when I see a book that is written by a journalist. I expect them to cite the ever-loving fuck out of their sources. Yeah, the bibliography is 20 pages. I just checked. Like, thank you so much. Thank you. The Nature Fix is a journalistic investigation into nature and the effect that it has on us. Specifically, the positive effects. Williams investigates the power of nature to improve our mental health, our overall health, our relationships. And she explores that in a number of different ways in various locations. She travels all around the world, from Japan to South Korea to Finland to Scotland. Williams also explores how our modern lives have shifted mostly indoors and how unprecedented that is historically. And she explores the consequences of those actions. Declining mental health, declining physical health, becoming disassociated from our cultures. That is all explored within this book. And the reason that it took me so damn long to finish is because I didn't want to skim through it. There's so much amazing information in here. She cites so many interesting studies. And for me, when I read really interesting nonfiction books, I can't just blaze through it. I really need to read a chapter and then sit with it for a while, let it marinate or whatever. I think the other side of this is that it is a little bit dry. I found her writing very funny and witty, and I really enjoyed it, but because she does cite so many facts, so many sources, it can come across a little slow. I wouldn't say that bothered me per se, but it did mean that I wasn't able to finish the book as quickly as I would have liked. However, I really, really recommend this book. I'm giving it 4.25 stars. I also would really like to read other work that she's written, definitely putting all of her other books on my to be read. Well, that's enough of that audio and video quality, and next time you see me, I'll be reading The Cheese Book. Alright, I have finally finished the last book, which is Immortal Milk, Adventures in Cheese by Eric LeMay. I remember I got these books on the 5th of July, if I'm remembering correctly, and it is now the 25th. Also, I finished this a few days ago and just haven't recorded. It's fine. Don't worry about it. If I recall correctly, this was my most anticipated book from the little library hall, and it definitely was not my favorite. Coffee? Everybody's here. Hi, Harvey. Good boy. Thank you for the coffee. Oh, I guess he is gonna stay. Well, you can't really see him anymore, but he is still here. I can't adjust the camera angle. You can just see his little earsies. Okay, so anyways. Cheese Book. So this book is nonfiction, and it involved the author, Eric LeMay, traveling around to a bunch of different places, trying a bunch of different types of cheese, and talking to a bunch of different people who make cheese. It's kind of difficult to categorize this book because on the one hand, on the inside cover, it says that the point of the book is that the author is talking a lot about cheese, about various places that it's made, who makes it, and the process that it takes to make cheese. But it really reads more like a memoir, but a memoir in which we don't, unfortunately, really get to know the author that well. A comparison that kept coming up for me while I was reading was Cooked by Michael Pollan, And that book is just so incredible. Like, it's a memoir in terms of we get to see Michael's journey through discovering different things about different food, but it also really goes into scientific depth about the various genres of food, including cheese and other fermented products. With that book, I really felt like we got to know the author as a person, and we got all the scientific information that I wanted. And this book, I didn't really feel that either of those things were achieved. You don't really get to know the author as a character necessarily. You do get to hear about the experience through his description of his wife, whose name is Chuck. However, he doesn't really describe her in that flattering of a way, so it's not really charming. It just kind of comes off as like a little weird, honestly. Like, there's a section where the author is talking to us as the reader and is trying to not describe his wife as fat to her face, which, like, ew. And all in all, I felt like he was writing to the audience, like he thought that he was super charming, but I as the reader did not find him very charming at all, so it was just kind of meh. All in all, there was neither enough scientific knowledge in this book. Oh, bye. There's not enough scientific knowledge in this book for me to want to classify it as like a purely intellectual read, but also the writing was not charming enough for me to want to read this as a memoir. I feel like if it had gone in either direction more strongly, I would have liked it more, but as it was, I don't think it really succeeded in either of the things it was trying to do. So, disappointing. I think 2 stars is what this is going to get for me. Alright, so there we have it. I read all of these books that I found in little libraries. Overall, I don't think it was that successful. I really liked one of the books, which was The Nature Fix by Florence Williams. That was by far my favorite. My least favorite, of course, was The Octopus and the Orangutan, though I wouldn't say I really enjoyed any of the other books. I really wanted to like Gentlemen of the Road by Michael Chabon, but I just couldn't get into it, unfortunately. And Snoopy also disappointed me, so I don't know what we learned, but we'll see if I do this again. But I really had fun going on this journey. I had fun making this video, and let me know if you think I should do it again. Alright, that's gonna be it for today, and I will talk to you guys later. Subscribe if you want. Bye!